God works on you in the ways you would never expect. On January 22nd this year, I met my new therapist to discuss certain difficult situations that were taking place at the moment. Although I've been in therapy before and I was happy with the results, at the beginning of 2025, I was going through something that I couldn't deal with anymore on my own. The therapist suggested a new CBT protocol to study the issue in hand, and that eventually gave rise to many wonderful insights, and I ended up writing a diary every day. An accidental decision guided by the Holy Spirit, the decision that led to deliberate everyday self-care and connection with God. And today I'd like to encourage you to start journaling and to share with you the valuable lessons I've learned from keeping a daily record of my thoughts. It's funny how I thought that every difficulty, problem, or argument has no connection to other events in my life when I didn't journal. But when I actually started registering all the triggers, even the slightest ones, or situations that made me experience all the kinds of negative emotions, I've noticed that everything I write down and everything I'm going through has some common ground. And that common ground is my patterns of thinking. And sometimes the problem lies not in a situation itself, but in how I see it and react to it. The perfect example could be a serious conflict with my mother who stole my money, and this used to immediately ignite fury and rumination in my head and suck the best out of me. I could keep thinking about it all day. And although I had the absolute right to be angry, at some point I've come to the idea that this conflict might be the weapon the demons are using to distract me from my purpose. Why stressing out if you can't change other people? So it's pointless. That new outlook made me turn away from the weapons the enemy is using and began to reflect on my own values, my gifts, and those little nudges God is giving all the time. If someone else is not my territory, so to speak, and I cannot exercise my power there, where's my territory? God, where do you want me to be? Recognizing my own patterns of thinking allowed me to break out of this vicious cycle of never-ending arguments and problems and try new behaviors and do something that's crucial to me. And most importantly, I stopped wasting my precious energy on the things I couldn't change. Journaling allowed me to see my life through God's eyes, and I'm extremely thankful for that. Writing a day-by-day account of what draws my attention and creates emotional tension has also become a witness of my progress. Although certain topics and reactions repeat themselves, it's got much harder for me to ignore the steps forward I've already made. The thing I'm extremely good at. I'm one of those people who fail to see their own growth. So now, with the extensive written record of what I've been going through, I find it nearly impossible to portray my progress as something that's been here with me forever. Journaling gives a strong sense of development. It encourages me not only register my thoughts and my triggers, but also break the spell of negative, unhelpful thinking. And this is done by asking myself some challenging questions or coming up with some encouraging thoughts or looking for some information because I might have misconception about certain concepts and things, and that leads me in a direction that I don't want to follow. For instance, I falsely believed that in order to be efficient, you need to be thinking all the time. But efficiency is when you achieve the largest amount of useful work using as little energy and effort as possible. So it's exact opposite. That's why for a long period of time I was conflicted about my leisure time. If I've done everything in 1 hour, am I being lazy and should go back to work and do something else? Or am I just being efficient today and should actually be proud of myself? When I talk this through, the answer seems obvious. However, our lives and behaviors, I should say, are so full of such absurd inconsistencies just because we don't have a clear understanding of certain things, and our minds are a collection of randomly borrowed stuff from everything we see and hear. Another interesting thing about journaling is that even if I become aware of the reasons of my behavior and my typical ways of reacting, I still keep noticing some new details or nuances to the situation. The situation might be familiar, but thanks to the journal, I can say, oh, I haven't thought this before, or this time it's slightly different. It's interesting. Like a detective or a researcher, I collect new data and start working with it. And this gives even more insights and experiments. And I should say that this is one of the most beautiful ways working with God, talking with Him, and working on your life in cooperation with Him. When I'm triggered and write down my negative self talk, I'm literally horrified by this critical and hostile attitude towards myself that I see on the paper. Back in the days when I didn't keep a diary, I could easily ignore the damage I did to myself and justify this as a means of self development or self improvement. How am I supposed to grow if I don't criticize myself? But now, when these thoughts are actually on the paper, it's actually hard to claim that they're an innocent way of helping myself. They sound quite aggressive and even demonic, I should say. And if I talk to the people around in such a way, I would justly be left alone. For example, a couple of days ago, I watched a video by a businessman that I trust and respect, saying that the middle class is getting smaller and poorer, and that there will be more poor people, and that the divide between the poor and the rich is going to be even greater. And here are the immediate thoughts that came to my mind. Pay attention. I'm going to be poor. Number two, what was I thinking of? I've made all the mistakes I could possibly make. Number three, I won't be able to buy an apartment. I won't get married and have kids. I would die alone somewhere on the street. And I have a PhD, by the way. It's funny. I don't know how to create new streams of income. That's number four. And number five, I'm absolutely helpless, good for nothing, poor, but intelligent. A very positive outlook on myself and my future, I should say. Imagine saying this to your best friend or your partner. Uh, how can anyone boost their income with this line of thinking? It's impossible. So I had to work with these self attacks, or maybe even demonic attacks, very intensively to stop feeling so miserable and helpless, and remind myself that I've already been moving in this direction, and I've already done some excellent progress, although it's not completely tangible on the outside. And only after that I could calm down and get back to normal. So, as you can see, journaling is an excellent way of keeping your conversation with God and protecting yourself from the enemy's attacks, who is always looking for the ways to fool you. Your mind is a battlefield between God and Satan. So pay attention to your thoughts and work on them. If you want to know how I journal and what practices I use, please let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to share those practices with you. And this is all for today. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Until next time, bye.